Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nugentino Cinema. And today I'm joined by Robert Saucedo. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. And did you just want to introduce yourself for the audience? Just give you a little explanation for what you do.
Yeah. So, in my professional life, I'm a film buyer for the Alamo Drafthouse Cinema, based out of Houston, and I work for the company buying first-run films for several locations across the Alamo system. But on the side, as a hobby, I write comic books, and my first book is called Werewolf with an H, Werewolf, and it ran as a webcomic uh, on Fangoria's website last year, and this summer it's going to be released in a physical edition by Encyclopocalypse Publications.
Nice. Yeah, I've seen some of the ads for this, and it's pretty awesome. Like, you're gonna go on a big tour soon, and that seems pretty cool. And like play some werewolf movies. And that seems like it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of combine the experience I had in the Alamo Drafthouse working in marketing and apply it to my own project, my own passion. And so I was able to pull some strings and call in some favors and book about 20 plus cinemas across the country to tour around starting March 31st and as of right now, ending in August, but hopefully I'll be adding some more into the fall by showing different werewolf films, everything from Silver Bullet to An American Werewolf in London, The Howling, Wolf Cop, Junior Snaps, and some other great stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. I want to talk about your book, but I also wanted to ask you some questions about like just your history with like the Alamo and whatnot.
Mhm.
Um, I'm a big fan of the Alamo Drafthouse, and that's where I first met you. I think the first time I came to the Alamo and went to a screening of yours was about maybe 9 years ago, like 2014. I think it was Cannibal Holocaust was the first one I was at,
Mm,
and that was
yeah.
one where the power went out. I think, but it was still a great time. I think I got through most of the movie. It was like just the end that was cut off, but I have lots of Alamo merch. I have a Graveyard Shift like T-shirt, multiple Graveyard Shift T-shirts. A Graveyard Shift was like a horror series he did, which was awesome. Still got this little film club pin, which I just wanted to show to the audience, which is
Nice.
awesome. But yeah, and just tons of cups and all kinds of stuff from the Alamo. But the Alamo is an awesome company and just like really fun. But how did you first get involved with the Alamo Draft House?
Yeah, so I started by hosting events for the Alamo Drafthouse all the way back in 2010. I was hosting screenings of everything from movie parties to trauma films to just recently we had an anniversary of one of the very first events I hosted for them, which was a double feature of Troll 2 and Best Worst Movie. And the more I started working with the Alamo, the more I realized I wanted to do this for my job professionally, and so I met the owner of the Houston franchise and introduced myself and shared my resume several times until he finally gave me a call back, and the rest was history. It was kind of a long process. When I first started working for the Alamo, I was doing accounting work and was the Houston franchise owner's executive assistant, but I kind of maneuvered that position and sought out what I really wanted to do, which was film programming and marketing, and turned that into my job over the course of 12 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, how did you come up with one of my favorite things that you did at the Alamo Draft House was the Graveyard Shift series? Was that your like original idea to do that?
Yeah, so when I first started working for the Houston Alamo Draft House, there wasn't a horror series at the time. Austin had Terror Tuesday, and it was a great series I looked up to, but I wanted to do something like that in Houston. And so, I talked to my boss at the time and pitched him this series, and came up with the name and the concept. Houston being a slightly different city than Austin, we didn't set out to start doing it weekly. We did it monthly at first, and that's why it was Graveyard Shift versus like a Terror Tuesday or a weekday based series. But over time, it became so popular that we turned it into a weekly series, and now it happens every Friday night in Houston. And then just recently, in the last year, we actually took Graveyard Shift national. So now Graveyard Shift happens in almost every Alamo Draft House across the country on a monthly basis, and hopefully it'll follow the path of Houston and increase in frequency over the years to come.
Yeah, it's a really fun series, and I would recommend if anybody's out there in Houston or just nationally, definitely check that out. I've gotten to see tons of great horror films through Graveyard Shift. Possession is a great one that comes to mind immediately. Like I remember that movie was a lot, or it seemed pretty like really rare at the time, and it seemed like a really like special experience to see that in the theater. And yeah, there's just tons. I mean, I could show. I don't know where it is right now, but I have a T-shirt with like all the names listed on the back, and there's just there's hundreds of titles that y'all have shown that are really great. But sorry, I'm just looking through my questions. Um, like in 2019 or something, I got really into Graveyard Shift, and I think I saw like 135 movies in the theater that year, which is pretty insane. And but yeah, and I remember another really fun thing that y'all did was a Graveyard Fest, which was I think was just in 2019, but yeah, that was really fun. Do you have any plans to ever do something like that again?
Yeah, it was kind of funny. It was meant to be an annual thing, and then in 2020, something happened called a COVID, and shut
Yeah,
down all my plans for that year. And so when we started to finally come back into a sense of normalcy after COVID, we ran into some scheduling issues where like the weekends were just really packed because all the studios that had held their films for 2 years are suddenly releasing them every weekend, and so there wasn't space in our calendar to do like a full-on film festival. And so what I started doing was an overnight film festival, and so we would do 12 hours of horror movies, like a mystery marathon, starting at 9 p.m. and ending at 9 a.m. And we've done that for the last 2 years. In 2023, I'm not sure if I'll do that format again or try to bring back Graveyard Fest, but I definitely want to continue to do events like that where I mix, repertory horror films plus festival independent films, and really try to spotlight some great movies that people may not have seen, and do it around the Halloween season because that's always a great time to watch horror films.
for sure. Those are always a lot of fun, and it's always fun. I enjoy how it's usually like October 30th. It's not the 31st, and
Mhm.
it's like right on Halloween. You get to enjoy just like a ton of horror movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are really awesome. Did you see like a lot of movies before you worked at Alamo? Like, have you always been like a big film fan?
Well, it's funny, like, I didn't watch a lot of movies growing up. Besides like, I was born in 1984, so Jurassic Park came out at the exact right time in my life as an adolescent boy, and I was obsessed with Jurassic Park, and I was obsessed with the big films like the Batman movies, and Men in Black, and stuff like that. But I didn't watch a lot of smaller titles. I didn't watch a lot of older titles until high school. 1999 was an amazing year for films. Just that one year, you had everything from like Being John Malkovich to Fight Club to The Matrix to Iron Giant, Blair Witch Project. The list goes on. And so that year coincided with my freshman year of high school, and it opened my eyes and to what movies could do and be. I got my own Blockbuster membership card and started going to the video store every week and renting movies from that were both new and movies that had come out, before I was even born, and really dove deep into that. And so that continued throughout college, but it's also continued throughout my time at the Alamo. I always tell people I don't claim to be a movie expert. I claim to be a movie explorer, and that's what I want. That's the kind of vibe I want to put out with what I do at the Alamo Drafthouse. If I was to have seen every movie that was ever made, that'd be boring. There wouldn't be a sense of discovery left. And so I very much try to continuously find new things, either that I've just not gotten around to watching yet, or stuff that's being made today that is kind of flying under the radar, and really seek hard for those type of movies. So I still love the sense of discovery that I feel with cinema because there's just so much stuff out there that I haven't seen yet or that most people haven't seen yet.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something I've always appreciated about the movies that you program is that sense of discovery. I mean, there's tons of movies that I would never have gotten to see. I mean, for example, like just last year at the Graveyard Shift, or the marathon on Halloween, you showed Impulse, the William Shatner movie.
Mhm.
I never would have saw that, and I'd never heard of it, and it was very entertaining and was awesome. So I definitely appreciate that sense of discovery. And also another thing I appreciate, like another one of my favorite screenings that you did was a theatrical screening of The Brothers Solomon, which
Mhm.
isn't
Yeah.
something that I mean, I don't know if that's ever played in any theater, since 2007, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, well, I had always had it in my heart to try to do a screening with Lee Majors since he moved to Houston. I was going to try to coax him out to the theater for a screening, and I suddenly realized like that may never happen, and I don't want to get hit by a bus and never have shown Brother Solomon in a movie theater. So yeah, I did it as a secret screening, knowing that people wouldn't come out to see Brother Solomon if I told them that was what we were showing. And I essentially tricked a theater full of people into watching that movie, and it was a blast. I heard people laughing despite themselves, and that's always a good sign of a comedy.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But you mentioned like trying to get Lee Majors out. Like you've managed to get like a lot of guests, throughout the years. Are there any favorites or great memories you have from having guests at the theater?
Yeah, it's funny. Like it's always kind of bizarre how I have to pinch myself sometimes to realize how lucky I am in some regards. As a kid I was obsessed with the Monster Squad, and now because of my time with the Alamo and working with him, I've become like friends with Andre Gower, the star of the Monster Squad. And that's just such a wild, unique experience. But beyond that, we've had so many amazing guests at the theater. Zoe Bell was fantastic. Jason Schwartzman is one of the coolest guys I've ever met. Crispin Glover is always a blast to work with, and provides some great stories to tell at parties. But it's the list can go on. I've had so many amazing opportunities because of the Alamo Drafthouse and because of my job to meet and to work with people who I greatly admire, and help showcase their films. But also working with new filmmakers. Like there's an animator outside of Austin, or based out of Austin, named Eric Power, who directed a movie called Attack of the Demons. And when he finished his newest project, When You Get to the Forest, he sent me a link to it, like before it had been released. And I was one of the first people to see this film and realize what a tremendous piece of art it was. And so I was able to use my power with the Alamo Drafthouse to get screenings of this film set up across the Alamo system nationwide, and help people discover this film. And that's something I'm immensely proud of.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I got to see Attack of the Demons, or that's the name of it, right? Attack of the Demons.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that at Graveyard Fest, and it was definitely a good movie. I have good memories of that one. But um, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your comic Werewolf. So could you explain the concept behind it?
So, it's set in College Station, Texas, which, if you're not familiar with College Station, Texas, I don't blame you. It's not a highly exciting place. It's set in the triangle of Texas between, San Antonio, Houston, and Dallas, and it's the home place of Texas A&M. So, full of shit kickers and cowboys and nothing much else. And so I set this werewolf story in College Station, and it's about a reporter who dreams of moving to a bigger city and experiencing something more exciting in his life. And then he gets that excitement when he finds out that there's a werewolf that's preying upon a furry convention being held in College Station, Texas. And so he has to go undercover in the furry convention, dress up in a costume, to try to track down the identity of this werewolf that's preying upon the convention attendees.
Nice. Yeah, that's a really cool concept. And so I think you've been writing this for a few years now, right? It has been like an ongoing series.
Yeah, well, I started it during COVID, when, like everybody else in the theatrical industry, I was furloughed, and, was without a job and didn't have a lot to do for the first time in a long time. I've been working steadily since I graduated college. And so this was the first time I've ever had like an extended period of time where I didn't have a job. And so I was bored out of my mind. And so I started writing Werewolf as a novel. And I was publishing it like a chapter a day, just as a fun way to kind of uh, distract me from the fact that there was a worldwide pandemic going on, and that I may or may not ever get my job I loved back. And so I did that, and I finished it, and I liked it, but I felt like there was something missing. It could use a good edit, but B, I always had this story in my head visually, and I really wanted to adapt it into a comic book. And so I spent the next year uh, working on that comic book. I hired an artist from Italy and a letterer from New York, and we just sat down and we made this comic book happen. And I tweaked it for another year, and continued to fine tune it. And when it was finally ready to share, I was lucky enough to be able to work with the great folks at Fangoria to release it as a webcomic. over 12 weeks. We released a chapter a week, and then I'm still working on more chapters, a sequel to the story. But for right now, the book is done. It's a one and done, full complete story, beginning, middle, end. But there's definitely the room for more stories to be told in this universe, and I'm very excited to continue to be able to tell those stories with my same team. In fact, I just got the second chapter of the sequel from the letterer today, and I haven't looked at it yet. I'm very excited to take a look at that tonight after our interview.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely I haven't checked out the whole series. I mean, I've read bits and pieces of it, but I want to get this book.
Mhm.
I want to read the whole thing. So it seems like a
Yeah.
really awesome book. And I know I saw one time you posted like you had like a huge billboard in College Station of Werewolf,
Mm.
and that was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
So
I thought when I was putting the book out there, I used every tool in my toolkit from my experience working for the Alamo Drafthouse on how to market a movie, and I applied it to a book, a comic book. And so I did a little research and realized that College Station billboards were very cheap, very affordable. And so I bought a billboard in College Station for a month, and informed the population of College Station that they indeed had a werewolf problem. And I don't know if it actually led to anybody reading the comic book, but it sure gave me a big laugh to know that this billboard was up at College Station for a month.
yeah, that's pretty awesome. And I saw that you even you got kudos from Joe Dante, which is pretty amazing.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it seems like an awesome book. Were there any films that like influenced it specifically, like that influenced Werewolf?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been a werewolf fan my entire life. I watched Silver Bullet at a very young age. Well, I was just remembering this recently. So the very first werewolf story I ever wrote was like as a 5-year-old kid, and it was a short story in which Darkwing Duck fights the werewolf from Silver Bullet. That's the kind of that shows just how passionate I was about werewolves from a young age. And so Silver Bullet's very much an influence on the book. But there's like so many amazing werewolf films. Everything from Ginger Snaps to Dog Soldiers, Good Manners, this Brazilian werewolf film that's amazing. But beyond werewolf films, the biggest influence is actually not a movie, but it's Fletch, the book series. So the Chevy Chase movies are based on a series of books by Gregory MacDonald, and they're my favorite books in the entire world. The movies are fine. I like the movies, especially the new one, Confess Fletch, which just came out last year. It's a lot of fun, and it really captures the tone of the novels more than the Chevy Chase movies. But the books, I was really I call Werewolf my Fletch fan fiction because it's really me trying to like capture that lightning that I saw Gregory MacDonald do with his series of books. That snappy dialogue, the put upon reporter over his head trying to solve a mystery that he's not very well equipped to solve, and it's just something that I really loved and wanted to try to replicate, but with a little bit of a twist of like Kolchak the Night Stalker, which is another great reporter fighting monsters series, and another big influence on what I was trying to do with Werewolf.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool like mixture of influences, and I think it all has like a really like nice like fun tone, which I appreciate. Um, so you're about to go on tour with it, and are you going to like? I know it's mostly going to be Alamo Draft Houses, but are there like any other theaters you're visiting?
Yeah, well, I wanted to definitely visit a theater in College Station, and so I was able to work with the great guys over at Star Cinema Grill in College Station to set up a screening of American Werewolf London there. I'm working with the Majestic Theater in Phoenix, or specifically Tempe, Arizona, to do a screening of Wolf Cop. The rest right now are Alamo Drafthouse locations, but I'm working with a handful of more theaters that I'm hopefully going to be able to announce for the fall. Honestly, when I first started putting together this tour, I was very excited. But then I sat down and looked at like 20 cities that I'd be visiting, and I realized I needed to take a little bit of a break before I put any more theaters on the calendar. And so, I'm going to get through these first batch of Alamo Drafthouse locations, and then my plan is in the fall to visit some other non Alamo locations. Like, I know great people out in Nashville and Miami and Portland, and hopefully I'll be able to visit some of those other great cities and some other great cinemas.
Yeah, for sure. I'm in Colorado currently. I'm in Estes Park, and if you ever
Oh,
manage to
yeah.
get out to like, there's a theater here called Historic Park Theater. I think that'd be
Mhm.
a pretty cool place to do a show.
Y
But yeah,
Yeah, I saw a screening of Reanimator there with, Stuart Gordon and Barbara Crampton in attendance at that theater as part of the Overlook Film Festival years ago. It was such a great location.
yeah. I wish I've been here a couple times, but I never got to go to that Overlook Film Festival. I wish I could have went to that. That seems like really fun.
Mhm.
Yeah. I've actually never been to the Historic Park Theater. I've just seen it. It looks like I know it's like one of the oldest theaters in the country. But I
I
hope to
think
go
they
soon.
said it's the oldest, that side of the Mississippi, which is, a pretty
Yeah,
good distinction.
yeah, that's pretty awesome. But I mean, I think that's pretty much all the questions I had for you. I really look forward to reading the book, and I recommend that everybody. I think it's on pre-order now. So
Yeah, yeah, you can order it on Amazon, and you can order it on, Barnes& and Noble, and directly from the publisher, Encyclopocalypse Publications. It blows my mind you can actually order it from Target.com, so yeah, go check it out.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I definitely recommend everyone pick it up. I look forward to reading it myself. And yeah, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite.
Well, thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.